Alright, what's up YouTube? This is your boy Alex. Today is Saturday. Got a day off. And for the next 2 weeks, I'll be making YouTube videos on all my YouTube channels. Now, it's unfortunate that it's raining for the rest of this whole week, because that's going to be Monday, well, actually Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and they probably won't stop until next Friday. So, I'm off for 2 weeks, so that's the good news. Now, this YouTube video is going to be called Sex Game Men. Don't worry, your turn is just like playing sports. Now, I know that's a long ass title. Now, this is for men that are just graduated high school, men going into college, men at work, because there's some men at work that's in their 20s and their 30s. And the pickup artists and the dating coaches don't talk about this in their 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour pickup artist seminar. And if they do, they have to charge you a lot of money for it. But on my channel, you're going to get it for what? I'm going to say it again. You're going to get it for free. Now, the reason why I'm making this video is because there's a lot of men when they graduate high school and college and they come into the workforce, into the real world, a lot of times they might be confused, because it happened to me like at least 7 to 8 times. Knowing my dad, he might say not 7 to 8 times. It's probably happened to me probably about 10. And I'll explain why it happens a lot of times. And there's a cycle to it. And it takes a while to break the cycle. And that is, you will get your turn. It's just like sports. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, Alex, what on God's green earth are you talking about? I'm talking about the opposite sex. I'm talking about women. Now, black women, white women, sexy mamacitas, sexy Latinas, Asian women, Indian women, y'all welcome to watch the YouTube video. This video is for men, but y'all welcome to watch this video. This is where I give some men some advice. Men in their early 20s, mid 20s, late 20s, 30s. Now I'm going as far as hell to give some men some advice in their 40s. Because sometimes guys in their 40s be saying, it never happens to me, and then it happens to them in their 40s. Because they think if you're in your 20s or 30s, it only happens to people that's in their 20s and their 30s. They never think it ever happens to guys that are from the ages of 40 to 45. So I'm here to kind of like break down some wisdom. Well, I wouldn't call it wisdom. I'll just call it information. Let's better that way. Information. Now, this happens to you in high school, college, and all throughout life. There be women you find physically, sexually attractive, right? Doesn't matter if it's black women, white women, Mexican women, Asian, Indian, Samoan women, young, old, a combination of the two, right? And a lot of times you want to ask this woman out to lunch and dinner or for a cup of coffee, and for reasons explained or not explained, you get rejected. You make another attempt, you get rejected 3 times, or you get rejected 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, right? It all depends on how many times you keep putting effort, and it doesn't work. And I'm here to explain to you that when you get a turn with women, it's just like playing sports. And I'm about to explain the analogy of playing sports. Let's look at basketball for an example. You ever wonder how come some of the best basketball players in the world become great? It doesn't happen overnight. What happens is somebody gets hurt on the basketball team, and that person ends up coming into the game to take that person's spot. A prime example of that is in football. If you know the story of Tom Brady has told his story 50 to 100 times while playing professional football for 17, 18, or in this case, we're going to go with 20. He's been playing professional football for 20 years. That's 2 decades. And he's told his story 100 times in 20 years. He got his start coming off the bench because the quarterback got seriously injured and could not play at a high competitive level. And it gave him the opportunity to show the coach that he is the right guy for the job. And he won like 7 football games out of that whole season. Then they put him back on the bench, and they went back with their star quarterback. And their star quarterback got hurt a second time. He got hurt a third time. And next thing you know, they brought Tom Brady back for the rest of the season. He gets them into the playoffs. He helps them get to the first round, second round. In this case, we're going to say the first game, the second game. They win the third game, and then they go to a Super Bowl. And again, they put Tom Brady on the bench. I'm talking about when Tom Brady won his first Super Bowl championship. And the quarterback gets hurt for the last and final time. And then they throw Tom Brady in the Super Bowl, and Tom Brady wins them the Super Bowl. Because he had to prove for the whole season that he was the right guy to be superstar quarterback. Now, you probably might be saying to yourself, but Alex, what does basketball and football have to do with getting your turn with women? I'm about to explain it to you. I'm using sports to explain it to you. And that's just one athlete that's happened to in the NFL. Another person that happened to, if you think about it, that happened to Steve Young when he was playing for the San Francisco 49ers 25 years ago. Yeah, Joe Montana was the superstar quarterback, and he was behind Joe Montana, and he was riding the bench. And when Joe Montana got hurt, Steve Young came in and helped him win the thing that made him get 3 championships or 4 championships. Same thing with Steve Young. He had to prove to the NFL that he was the superstar quarterback. So there are stories of these superstars having to wait for their opportunity. There go that word again. Wait for their turn to come. Now let's go into the world of basketball. Kobe Bryant, right? If you know the story of Kobe Bryant, he went from straight from high school straight into the NBA, right? But there was a basketball player by the name of Eddie Jones that was the shooting guard at that time in the mid-1990s. Same thing. He got injured 3 times in the season. And all 3 times he got hurt, they made Kobe Bryant come off that bench. And Kobe Bryant would score his 10, 15, 20 points a game. And Kobe said, you know what, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm faster, I'm better than this guy. Why am I always sitting the bench and this guy's always out there playing and he's always hurt? And at that time, the coach told Kobe, you got to wait for, there go that word again, you got to wait for your turn to get the opportunity to show me why should you be starting in the starting 5 of the lineup. And Kobe said, okay, coach. That's when Kobe got a phone call from Magic Johnson. And Magic told Michael. And Michael Jordan called Kobe and told Kobe, if you really want to prove to the coach and the whole entire NBA that you are the man, why don't you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and hit some jump shots and some 3-pointers. And Kobe Bryant actually did it. Like the first 10 or 11 years of his NBA career, he would literally get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go into an empty gym, no matter where he was at, and hit 1,000 to 3,000 shots. So when the day came that Kobe got his chance to show the whole world, I am the right person, he did. Eddie Jones got hurt like 3 times in one season. That's when the coach said, all right, let's go with Kobe. And I think this was this one game where Kobe dropped 30 points. He had like 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. At that point, Kobe was slam dunking. Kobe was slam dunking on 1 person, slam dunk on 2 people, slam dunk on 3 people. Kobe all of a sudden tied the game. All of a sudden, Kobe took the lead. All of a sudden, the Lakers are up by 10 points. All on Kobe Bryant's ability to say, hey, coach, look what I can do. And the coach said, okay, Kobe, that's just 1 game. But then Kobe said, okay. Kobe got start 2 days in a row. All of a sudden, Kobe did it 2 times. 3 games, 4 games. Before you know it, Kobe did it 10 in 10 games. He did it 10 times in a row. And the coach said, all right, Kobe, we're going to see if you can keep that up for the rest of the season. And Kobe did. And once Kobe finally proved that he could do that, but he wasn't the only one. It happened to Michael Jordan. If you know the Michael Jordan story very well, you should know right off the back. When the Portland Trailblazers failed to pick Michael Jordan in the NBA draft, they chose Clyde Drexler over Michael Jordan. It was a shock to a lot of people. They chose Sam Bowie over Michael Jordan. It was twice they chose other players over Michael Jordan. And they sent Michael Jordan to the Chicago Bulls. And when Michael gets sent to the Bulls, Michael's not sure if he's on the right team. And it ain't until Michael get with Scottie Pippen, Horace Grant, you get Phil Jackson, and all of a sudden you got the Chicago Bulls. And it take them quite a few years to get there. All of a sudden, Michael shows the Detroit Pistons. He shows the Boston Celtics. And what does Larry Bird, a.k.a. Larry Legend, says? He's going to become a great superstar in the future because he is showing you right now why he deserves to be the star that he should be. And this is Larry Legend saying this. I mean, they still beat Michael Jordan and the Bulls in the 1986 or 1987 NBA playoffs, but my point is, he saw that Michael Jordan was going to become the superstar that we know he is today. And you see, Michael showed. And you see, you have to understand that when Michael was in college, the same thing happened to Michael in college. He would come off the bench, score his 10, 15 points, and the coach would say, all right, go back on the bench. And Michael was like, but I could do everything that James Worthy can do. And the coach said, yeah, in your dreams, Michael. And it wasn't until Michael got into the NBA that he took that same alpha male mentality mind and went and showed the whole world what they didn't see in college. And that's when it came to the conclusion that what he did in the NBA, he could have actually done in college. He was told not to. And some believe that the coach in college kind of knew Michael could do that, but didn't want him doing it because they already had stars doing it. And Michael gets to the NBA and Michael shows out. That ain't the only superstar. Those ain't the only two basketball players in the NBA that had to do that. Then you have other players that have had that issue. Yeah, there are a lot of basketball players. So when I use basketball and I use football, I'm trying to explain to you how that works. Let me use Tracy McGrady if you don't understand. Tracy McGrady, when he first got drafted into the NBA, he was on the same basketball team with his cousin Vince Carter. Vince Carter was the superstar, and Vince Carter was the man. And Tracy McGrady was trying to become the man. And at that time they were making fun of him because he couldn't shoot, he couldn't dribble, he couldn't block, he couldn't guard, he couldn't play defense, offense. But then all of a sudden, 5 years later, he gets drafted, or well, not drafted, he gets traded to the Orlando Magics. And you gotta get it. What is the Orlando's second team? Magic, right? All of a sudden, the Magic comes to life with Tracy. All of a sudden, Tracy McGrady can cross people over, slam dunk on 2 people, 3 people, jump in midair and hit 3-pointers, beat you off the dribble. All of a sudden, he went from can't become the man to turn into the man. And it was because he demanded a trade. He got the trade that he was looking for. All of a sudden, he's on the same level as Vince Carter. All of a sudden, he's scoring 20, 30, 40, 50 points a season, and people are scratching their head trying to figure out he couldn't do this for 5 years on the Toronto Raptors, and when he gets traded to the Orlando Magics, all of a sudden he can do all this stuff. And guess what? When Tracy McGrady first got there, he had the Michael Jordan alpha male mentality. There was someone that was a superstar. Tracy McGrady had to come off the bench in Orlando, and guess what? The same thing actually happened again. The guy got hurt 3 times in a row, and all 3 times the coach said Tracy McGrady come off the bench, and Tracy helped them win basketball games. And when the playoffs come, that guy couldn't play in the playoffs. Tracy McGrady took his spot, and he went into Michael Jordan mode. It happens. You have a lot of stars that when they come into the NBA, they're not stars yet because there's already a star that came 5 or 10 years before you got into the NBA. And when those guys get hurt, You see it. Same thing. I'm going to do it again in football. Brett Favre, right? For almost 17 years in professional football, Brett Favre was the man and Green Bay Packers. Now, Brett Favre, when he was with the Atlanta Falcons, he played with them for about 4 years and 6 months, and then they traded him to Green Bay because they already had a superstar quarterback in Atlanta. And they said Brett Favre was immature. They said he was childish. He couldn't grow up. But when they sent him to Green Bay, that's when the legend of Brett Favre began. Same thing. There was a superstar quarterback on the Green Bay Packers. The guy was already past his physical prime, and the guy got hurt 3 times in a row. And all 3 times, Green Bay had to get Brett Favre off the bench, and all 3 times, Brett Favre had to perform at a high competitive level. Then, same thing. They get to the playoffs. They win their first playoff game. Then they win their first playoff game with Brett Favre, but then they lose on their way to the Super Bowl. And it ain't until like 6 years later that Brett Favre goes back to a Super Bowl and wins. And what does that story tell you? Each and every single one of those guys on those sports teams in basketball and football got hurt because why? It was their turn. It goes that word again. They got their turn. They got their opportunity to shine in front of the whole world and say that I'm the right guy. So I'm using basketball and I'm using football to try to explain to you how this story works. It happened to Stephen Curry. If you just look in high school and you just look in college basketball, it happened to Stephen Curry. There were always stars on the team that he played on. And it wasn't until Stephen Curry got into the NBA. Now, he was with this other star called Montel Ellis, and they were both shooting guards. They were both guards. And at that time, Monte Ellis was the man. And guess what? He got hurt like a total of 7 times in one season. In one season, he got injured 7 times. And all 7 times, Stephen Curry had to come out there and win the games for the Golden State Warriors. This is before the Warriors started winning championships. This is before the Golden State Warriors started kicking ass and taking names and whooping all the basketball teams in the NBA for 5 years. Yeah, once upon a time, Stephen Curry came in the NBA, and Stephen Curry was scoring 20, 30, 40 points. And Kobe Bryant said, that's going to be the next big superstar. Y'all watch. He going to take somebody's spot. And people said, nah, Kobe, he too young to take somebody's spot. And Kobe said, nah, you watch. And Stephen Curry took somebody's spot. All of a sudden, Monte Ellis was traded. And all of a sudden, it's Stephen Curry's basketball team. He's the alpha of the Warriors. Same thing happened on the Warriors team. So you have to understand, even when Dwayne Wade came into the NBA, when he first got drafted to the Miami Heats, he wasn't a superstar just quite yet. He had to come off the bench because there was already a superstar on that team. And the guy got injured 3 times in a row, and all 3 times, Dwayne Wade had to rise to the occasion and basically prove to the coach at the time, that was Pat Riley, that hey, I'm the man for the job. So the reason why I'm using basketball and football to explain, stop whining and complaining that you ain't got the girl in high school, college, or at work, is because you're going to get your opportunity to come off the bench, and you're going to get your opportunity to become Michael Jordan, to become Kobe Bryant, to become Dwayne Wade, Brett Favre. You're going to get your opportunity to be Steve Young. You're going to get your opportunity to become Stephen Curry. The reason why I'm mentioning these athletes, because each and every single one of these athletes were sitting behind someone, and when the person got injured, they got their opportunity. Now let's translate this into sex and dating so it can be more understandable and more relating to you as a man. You got men who see guys at work who take out the girl to lunch and dinner, but they never got to take the girl out to lunch and dinner. And a lot of times you might get 2 or 3 older guys in their 40s or 50s who might look at you and say, stop bitching and complaining. Stop whining because she's dating the guy that you're best friends with, or she's dating the guy that you don't like, or you didn't suspect her to date an older guy or a younger guy. And guess what? Sometimes it actually happens. It's a girl you find physically, sexually attractive, and you want to know why she chose that guy over you. It happens in high school, it happens in college, it happens at work, it happens at the gym, it happens everywhere. 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. It happens to all of us. Like I told you, it happened to me a total of 10 times. If you take high school, college, all the jobs I've had, it's happened to me. There's always been a woman that I found physically, sexually attractive. Don't matter if it's a black girl, a white girl, or a sexy mamacita. It happens to me. And you know what I do when those things happen to me? I always get somebody, whether it's my dad, my uncle, most of the time it's my martial arts teacher, and they always bring up the story of Michael Jordan. They always bring up the story of Kobe Bryant. They always say Michael didn't start winning championships until later in his basketball career. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I'm trying to explain to you getting your turn with women is like playing sports. Every time you turn around in basketball, there's always somebody that's a superstar, and then all of a sudden they get injured, and then all of a sudden here comes this guy that comes off the bench. You never heard of him before, and all of a sudden he gets a shot, and then he takes over the team. Well, it's the same thing with dating. You'll get a girl that'll date a guy that she likes. They might be in a relationship for about 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Maybe 5 years later, they break up, and then she might date two or three other guys, and then they break up, depending on the situation, and then somehow, some way, because it happens, when you're not expecting it, when you're not focused on it, she comes into your direction. Now, some people might be a smart ass and say, well, what happens if it's 10, 15, 20 years later, like you always say in your YouTube videos, and she hits the wall? Okay, I'm going to explain the difference between when it's years later and you get the girl, and what's the difference when you actually get your opportunity when she's in her prime. A lot of times, if you get a car, just you getting a car, it gets you the attention, it attracts the attention of another girl. Not the girl that rejected you, not the girl that you want, but you get a car, you attract the attention of other women. You get a house or an apartment, it attracts the attention of other women. Let's say you buy a motorcycle, right? Let's say you get a woman that you don't expect. Let's say you get a woman that's an actress. You attract the attention of a Hollywood Oscar award winning actress. I'm not saying it will ever happen. I'm giving you a prime example. You attract the attention of an actress. Now, you don't have to worry about the other girl. Barry Sanders, the professional football player, has an old saying that I want you guys to learn. Those who run into the end zone and get happy and excited that they made a touchdown like they won a championship is celebrating because they know they're never going to go back. Guys who go into the end zone all the time, they never celebrate. Because if I done it once, I done it twice, I've done it 10 times, I don't get excited when I run into the end zone. I get excited when I win the football game. And Barry Sanders said it. I'd rather make 10 touchdowns and win the football game and celebrate than to make one touchdown and then lose the football game for celebrating. A lot of guys get happy that when they get the girl, and then it's just like going into the end zone. You will into the end zone one time, but you lost the football game. I make 10 not home runs, not baseball, but I've run into the end zone 10 times, and I win the football game. So what I'm trying to say in this video is that it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s. Doesn't matter if you're a black man, a white man, a Mexican man, or an Asian man. This advice is to help you understand that dating all types of women, young or old, when you get your turn will be described just like playing sports. You always hear these people on the internet say, it's just your turn, right? Well, I'm trying to describe to you what just your turn feels like. It's like being a basketball player. It's like being a football player. See, the pickup artist and the dating coach don't talk about this in their 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour lecture. Oh, you need to come to my pickup artist camp, boot camp for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. They don't tell that information, and if they do, they have to charge you a lot of money for it. I'm telling it to you for free because I don't want you to graduate from high school or college and come into this world and say, ain't no one never told me this information. Why? Because it happened to me 10 times. It happened to me in high school, college, my first job, my second job, my third job, all four jobs. It has happened to me multiple times. And each and every single time, I've had to have somebody that was already in their late 30s, mid 40s, early 50s, who have had to come in and kind of sit me down and explain to me, sometimes in life you're going to get opportunities when you least expect it. There be times where you don't even think you're going to get an opportunity, and then from out of nowhere, it pops out of nowhere. Think just use basketball and football as a prime example of what I'm explaining. Some of y'all might say, "Well, I don't watch basketball and football." Okay, some of y'all might watch professional boxing. Some of y'all might watch mixed martial arts or wrestling. Even in wrestling, how many times you see a wrestler never win a championship for 5 years, and then the guy that's the superstar gets hurt? They need someone in the back to wrestle the number one contender for a vacated championship. It happens all the time in boxing. I just did Lennox Lewis versus Anthony Joshua, and I told you in the story of how Lennox Lewis, that happened to Lennox Lewis. Lennox Lewis won a vacated heavyweight championship belt because Riddick Bowe threw it in the trash can, and Lennox didn't get the chance to fight Riddick Bowe for the belt. So Lennox had to fight another boxer, Razor Riddick, beat him, knock him out to win the vacated WBC heavyweight championship. It happened to Lennox Lewis and boxing. He had to win a vacated championship belt because nobody wanted to fight him for the title. And that's a prime example of he got his opportunity to win the belt. So it happens in boxing, it happens in professional wrestling, it happens in mixed martial arts. You be training for a championship belt, and the guy you're supposed to be training to fight against gets injured. He gets into a car accident, a motorcycle accident. There's a death in the family. That guy can't defend the championship belt. The title gets vacated. And then that guy, someone else steps in and basically has to what? Fight for a vacated championship. So it happens in basketball, football, boxing, wrestling, martial arts. Yes, it happens in baseball. Yes, like Tom Hanks said, there's no crying in baseball. Well, I'm gonna take his quote, and then I'm gonna make it a reference to sex and dating. There is no getting angry and upset in sex and dating because when you get your turn will be described as sports. It can happen at any time, any place. You could be at a rock concert, right? Thinking you'd be at a rock concert for 3 hours. You could be at a rap concert for 3 hours, and you could be going to the restroom, coming from the restroom. You could be going to the parking lot, and some girl lose her keys, and you help her find her keys, and that becomes your opportunity to get a girl because the girl at your job rejected you. Or you could be at a gas station pumping gas, and a female can just pop up and ask you, "Sorry to bother you, but I need $5. I mean, I got change, but I need a $5 bill." And you give her that $5 bill, and she come back and say thank you, and then ask you what your name is. And then 5 days later, you actually see her again. That could be your girlfriend. Or you could be at the bank, and you could be doing a deposit, and she could be setting up a bank account, and she probably don't know how to use the credit card at the machine, and you show her how to deposit money into the machine, and all of a sudden she say thank you. That could be your girlfriend. So you can get opportunities like that. I'm trying to tell it to you in a way you guys can understand it. I'm trying to tell you it doesn't matter if you're in your 20s, your 30s, or your 40s. It does actually happen. You could be going to the gym, right? You could be going to an empty gym, nobody in it but you and three other people, and the girl may not know how to do hyper body extension workout, and you show her how to do it, and then all of a sudden she think you're the best trainer in the world even though you're not certified, and all of a sudden that becomes your golden ticket. That becomes your opportunity to get the girl. And then everybody at your job be trying to figure out who's this new girl that don't work at your job that's your girlfriend. And that could be your way to say, well, I got me a girl. I had to go outside the workplace to get one, but I got one. I'm just trying to explain to you there are different scenarios. That's the difference between getting your turn with women and then it's 10, 15, 20 years later, she hits the wall and she's old, and you're saying, yeah, the only time I can get her is when she's old. So there's a difference. See, when I say it's your turn, I'm making a reference to sports. See, when the woman come back 10, 15, 20 years later, the problem is you're mad because now you got the turn that you wanted in the beginning. I'm trying to explain what's the difference because there's a big difference between you get the girl much later on and then you get an opportunity. So that's why I said sometimes if you buy a house or an apartment, you attract the attention of other women. You get a car or a motorcycle, you attract the attention of other women. If you go to the gym and you work out and you do fitness and you get in the athletic shape, not necessarily like a bodybuilder or a power lifter, but you get in the athletic shape and you're cut and you're lean, then you attract the attention of other women. So sometimes you might have to do something to attract the attention of other women. I've always said it. You don't ever necessarily get the woman that you want because if you could have gotten her, you would have gotten her in the first place. That's why I made another YouTube video. And I said in that last YouTube video that sometimes you don't ever get the women that you want. Every woman that I've ever found physically, sexually attractive, I have never, and I mean never, yes, I'm doing the Chris Jericho, never, ever got an opportunity with. Didn't matter if I was in high school, college, my first job, second job, third job, even the job I have now. I've never, not one single time ever, got any of the females I found physically, sexually attractive. I get the scenario where it's 5 or 6, maybe 7 years later, and I run into them at the mall, at the movie theater, or at the park, or at the gym, and somehow, some way, they still remember me, but I forget that I've even remembered them, which they get mad about. But the point is, what I'm trying to say is, for me, I run into them 5, maybe 6, 7 years later, and then I go, oh, so that's you back. Oh, I didn't recognize you. Your hair's different, or you lost weight, or you gained weight. I didn't recognize you. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. I'm terrible when it comes to people with women's names. I forget women's names. I remember their face, I forget their names. So with you guys, it might be a little different. I'm just trying to explain to you not one single time in history I have never gotten the women I found physically, sexually attractive. Not one time. It's always 5, 6, 7 years later for me. Now, some people might say, well, that's because you're an asshole and you don't want to revisit the painful memories. Okay, in some case, that is true to a certain extent. I don't like to revisit the past. The only time I like to revisit the past